It's all yours, Alex.
Sick. Well, there we go. Well, excellent, excellent. Well, thank you guys for joining here. I'm so happy to be on the first Universal Wealth big final call, big call that we've got going on. I know a lot of you guys know me. You've seen me around. I've been at meetings. We've done all kinds of different stuff. So we're gonna be there. We go. I love. Let me see this chat. There we go. Oh my goodness, look at the chat going crazy. But guys, we're just gonna be covering nothing too crazy here, right? We're gonna be talking a little bit about F&G's products. Where they fall, who they're good for. A little bit about living benefits. We're gonna be going through the gambit here this afternoon. And if all goes right, I'm going to have Jake jump on and talk to you guys a little bit here too. We found out here from trial and error that F&G's laptops do not like Riverside too much here. So just bear with us when we're going through all this stuff because I know that it's a little bit goofy. We're going from phones and I've got my personal computer set up on the same thing as my laptop, so it's no big deal there. But let me pull up this slide here. We'll get rocking and rolling. You guys are off to an absolutely stellar year. I don't want to steal any of that thunder. Well, bear with me. I'm sharing. I'm about to share the wrong screen with you guys. All right, there we go. We're halfway there. And this is my first time really on the meetings. And there we go. Before I even jump into it, I'll let Jake. You there? You able to hear us?
I'm here. My headphones are
Awesome.
not working. Hopefully, you guys can hear me all right.
Yeah, yeah. No, we can all hear you. I'll let you get us started here.
All right. All right. Well, I'm glad I'm able to get on here, locked down here. But so glad to be here with you today. I'm glad that Alex kind of extended that invitation over. We at FNG are so happy and proud to be in partnership with you guys. I just know that we're coming to the table. We're coming in a new season too. So just thinking about that before I hopped on. So my girls are getting done with elementary school. First grade and preschool is now done. But a lot of families out there are kind of going through this weird transition right now where the kids are getting out of school. They're coming back into the home life and they're having to kind of juggle a lot of things at once. They're having to adjust to a new norm of having kids at home, of having them maybe graduating, going to college. All of this is happening. And it kind of lends itself to a new time of year, a new time of reflection, and kind of what are we wanting to do for the future. And I just know that us at F&G are here for every phase of the life. We try to take pride in the products that we have that should some things happen in life, we have a product that can help them. We can help them with maybe it's their vacation that they've wanted to take. They've saved up for that. They can borrow from the policy and be able to do that in the future. But what we have is we have something that gets better and better and better. So one thing that I absolutely love about our company is that we get 1% better every day. I think I've seen that on one of the shirts that Jason has out there. But some things that we've done recently with our exam free program, elevating that, getting you access to be able to take part in that product, in that systems and that process with clients that maybe that was stopping them from purchasing the product in the past. So that was one of the items that when we released that here a month and a half or so ago, maybe 2 months now, that was something I was so proud to be a part of because it's opening up this product for people, removing friction in the product, making it easier to make that sale. And we just keep stair stepping the ease of doing business with us. We know there's some things we can always work on, but if we keep getting better, just like you keep getting better in the field, we're going to come together and get more families protected. So I know that Alex has an awesome training plan for you here today, but I just wanted to stop in and say that one, we thank you so much for your business. We value this partnership so much. And we're here for you. We're here to support you. We're here to root you on. We're here to celebrate your successes. And we're here to give you that best product and the best process possible. So I won't take a lot of time. I just wanted to come in and say hi and thank you for your business. And I'll toss it back over to Alex for the training. Appreciate you guys.
There we go. Well, thank you, Jake. Always fun having you on the call.
Oh.
Lee. There we go. There we go. I'm back. Excellent. Well, thank you, Jake. I appreciate you jumping on, guys. I know Jake's got a couple other things that are going on here, and I told him last minute. I was like, "Hey, jump on this call." We and I were just talking about some stuff. So here we go. Let me share my screen. This is my first time using GoToMeetings, so let me make sure that I share the right one. There we go. All right, cool, man. This is great. You can even see it on the big screen. I love this. If you guys see me looking over here, that's because that's where I've got you guys at. But we'll get this show on the road. I know that a lot of you are might be watching this webinar here virtually. It might be after after the fact here. But when I started off at F&G, I remember first thing that I asked was, who is F&G? Right? What's the story? What's going on with this company? What do we have going on behind the scenes? What's making it so great? And so, when I started off at the company, what is this, like a little bit more than 3 years ago now? Can't be much more. I think Jake just congratulated me on my 3-year anniversary. When I started off, guys, I remember being in this industry close to a decade ago, and this purple and gold, illustrations coming across my desk. And at the time, I would tell them, hey, don't worry about that company. The ratings aren't all that good, and the illustration, the numbers don't look all that great either. Right? So I know they got living benefits, cool stuff going on over there, but where you're at right now has a little bit better of a product. The company has better ratings. The illustration looks better. Pretty plain and simple. The next thing I know, about a year goes by, 2 years go by, and illustrations start looking a little bit better than what I have. And I would say, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Let me beat up on the financial ratings, right? Company's not A-rated company. They got a B in there or whatever it might be, right? I don't know if you want to work with those guys, right? That type of thing. And then it gets to the point where the ratings are just as good as the company that I was at. The illustration looks better. And I'm getting a phone call from my good buddy asking me to come over here and start, doing exactly what I'm doing now with all of you. And, it gets to the point, guys, where if you can't beat them, you might as well join them. Right? So I've seen this company go from about $20 billion in assets under management when I started all the way up to close to $75 billion in assets under management now. The company is just growing and growing exponentially. Right? When you look at the industry sales, guys, I'm always blown away by this slide. The industry's growing about a 9% clip. I think it's a 6% clip now here with the 2025 data. I've just got to get that finalized and through compliance. But F&G at the same time is growing double digits year over year over year. Right? 35% continuing annual growth rate, versus a 9% continuing annual growth rate. There's a lot of things that, that account for that type of thing when you're growing faster than the industry. Right? We love to see that, you're not just growing because the industry sales are growing. You're growing because a lot of people out there who understand the products, who understand the industry, and understand the marketplace are realizing that what F&G has to offer is incredibly solid. Right? It's a very, very solid product offering. A lot of folks are gravitating towards all of that. So much so that the company's moved up, and we're now ranked in the top 10 of indexed annuities and IUL sales. Right? Completely wild. And people will ask me, Alex, why aren't you guys ranked any higher? Guys, what's crazy about F&G is they focus on middle market America. Almost exclusively, right? We're not looking for jumbo cases like you find at other carriers, right? Average face amount for our company is somewhere about $100,000 to $150,000 if memory serving me right. To get ranked top 10 in IUL and annuity sales at that level means that you are pushing tons and tons of volume. Right? You are truly going after and trying to do your best to help middle market America. But to do all of this, you've got to have some sort of strategic partnerships. Right? Whether it's strategic partnerships with the one like Blackstone that we have, right? I know for some of us this name might be, oh, those guys, they're no good guys. Don't worry. F&G is the only insurance carrier in the marketplace today that is partnered with Blackstone but not owned by Blackstone. Right? So I want to make that super, super clear. We're partnered with Blackstone but not owned by Blackstone. Right? So depending on who you're working with, that's a very big distinction that you want to make, right? And so our partnership with Blackstone is wonderful for our clients because Blackstone gives us access to better investment options than we could get elsewhere, right? Assets that have higher yields, right, at a lower cost point for us, right? And all of this ultimately allows us to make more favorable products and processes for all of you guys to use. Right? But at the same time, I've seen the companies that are owned by Blackstone, like my practice company here years ago, right? When you have that ownership, sometimes things actually don't go in your favor, right? Because you're being forced to take on different investment opportunities that you may not have taken on otherwise. So the beauty of this whole partnership is that F&G is partnered with Blackstone but not owned by Blackstone, meaning that F&G has first right of refusal on any investment opportunities that Blackstone would like to present, right? We're not forced to take them on like you might find at some other carriers. So some cool stuff with all of that, guys. But partnership is the name of the game. Whether it's partners like Blackstone or it's partners like the ones here at Universal Wealth, guys, it is incredible to see where things have gone, how big this organization, has grown. Just like anything, you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, but what stays the same is always your leadership, right? Because when F&G is partnering with an organization like Universal Wealth, and you guys are a part of what's called the Affiliated Partners Distribution Channel, right? You guys are a part of an elite distribution channel that does not have more than 8 organizations associated to it, right? You guys are one of these elite 7. And I remember when I came over here, I was being told, Alex, you're going to work with like 2 organizations. I was like, wait, what? 2? I used to work with like 20 or 30 of them. What do you mean only 2? Jason was trying to explain to me, he's like, no, this is different, right? And I've seen this firsthand, guys. When we're looking at organizations that are partnered with us, specifically the Affiliate Partners Distribution Channel, we always look for 3 major things. 1, do you guys have a process in place? A process that is proven, profitable, predictable. We're seeing that your organization is churning out individuals that follow this process. They follow this system, if you will, right, to a T, and it turns them into extraordinary people. Right? Absolutely. Changing the industry. You guys are on top of it, right? So we saw this system. We're like, hey, guys, they have the system, right? They have this blueprint for success. If you plug yourself in, you surrender yourself to this system, you will ultimately be successful. It's not an if, it's just a matter of when, right? The other thing we want to see is, hey, do they have the back office put together, right? Do they have the tools? Do they have the people in place? Right? Do they have the contracting figured out, right? Or is this just kind of a free-for-all? And you have all of those support systems here at Universal Wealth. And the really tough one, guys, the tough one for us to try to peg is always leadership. But I know through the past couple of years that I've been able to work with your leaders, right? You guys have extraordinary leadership. You have leaders that saw something wrong in the industry and are doing their best to go out there and change it, right? And this partnership that we have is absolutely changing the industry. Right? Absolutely changing the industry. I love to see all of that, right? So you guys are in the right place at the right time with the right providers, right? You guys have nothing but A-rated companies, right? So you're in a wonderful, wonderful spot. Please listen to the folks that brought you here, right? They're going to give you that blueprint for success, right? Exactly, Savita, righting the wrongs. And oh my goodness, I don't know what this is all about. Where am I jumping to? I've got a random deck. So guys, this should probably be somewhere at the end. Feel free to take a quick picture of this underwriting. I don't know why this is where it's at inside of this presentation, but bear with me, right? But why partner with F&G, right? Why partner with the company? And I couldn't figure it out, guys, until I actually came to F&G and got to see behind the scenes of some stuff that was going on, right? So when you look at all of this, F&G is just all about earning your business. Yes, you guys are a part of the affiliated distribution channel. Yes, you have access to myself, Jake, Nicole. You get 3 wholesalers. Not like all the other groups who maybe get 1, maybe 2, but those 2 are going to be spread out across 5, 10, 15, 20 different agencies, right? You guys get the 3 of us, right, and our entire support staff at the company, right? So a little bit more boutique support. You have that F&G Advantage, right, which we're going to learn more about as we go through this presentation. You have access to this competitive product suite, right? Products that, in my opinion, are a little bit less profitable for F&G, a little bit more profitable for you guys, giving you guys access to different indices that nobody has access to. I mean, good golly, the gold product in and of itself is a completely unique product that we don't give access to the majority, side of the house from a, agent's perspective. You guys get that reliable and consistent service. I mean, since I've joined, I believe we've hired on 32 additional case managers. So you want to talk about a dedicated staff and doing our best to make sure that our service stays the same, as we've grown like gangbusters here in the last several years, right? You guys have different tailored tips and different opportunities that you guys can take advantage of, right, by partnering with us. I'm sure you've seen myself, you've seen Jake at some meetings, right? All the fun that we get to have together, a bunch of different marketing resources and things of that nature as well, right? But let's talk a little bit about this product, right? Let's talk about the benefits of this IUL policy that you guys have starting to dip your toes into, right? So I know some of us might be new, but IUL policies are pretty simple, right? Regardless of the carrier, you're going to have 3, if not all 4, of these major pillars, right? You're going to have death benefit protection. Heaven forbid someone of your clients gets sick during their lifetime, chronic, critical, or terminal ill, you're going to have living benefits. These policies also have the capability of accumulating cash. That way you don't have to pay for your whole life, right? Which I know a lot of us don't like to do. And sometimes that cash grows so much, we can actually take supplemental distributions from it, helping us turn some of those aspirations into realities for our family, right? Like you heard about Jake talking about maybe taking some vacations from some of the money that's getting saved up inside of this policy. That's exactly the type of stuff that we're talking about. But how do we do it, right? What's the power of this product what's going on here behind the scenes, right? Why F&G? Guys, the product performance driven by high cap rates and reliable cap rate history, this is what made me, the big product nerd that I am, purchase a product here with F&G. I was sitting there one day, guys, and I was doing this policy review, and I was looking at one of these old contracts, and I saw a contract that was like 10 years old, maybe a little bit older than that. It still had a 12% cap rate on the S&P 500, which is where our Freedom product is at today, right? And I remember a little bit further back, guys. I've been in the industry 6 years before coming to F&G, and if you would have asked me back then why I don't have an IUL, I would have told you because I'm worried about the cap rate history, right? I'm worried about that participation rate history because in my practice company, guys, I saw a product go in force 3 years prior, helped an agent write one up for himself, right? Went through, did the app with him, helped him answer all the questions, make sure he filled it out properly, just for him to kind of set me up 3 years later. And I was sitting there, I remember one day I got a call from him, and I answered the phone, and I said, hey, what's going on? And, he comes back to me and says, hey, Alex, I want to get a policy for my mom. Can we do a policy review real quick on my own contract? And I was like, yeah, sure. Oh, great. We're going to get a policy for his mom. He sets me up, guys. I get into that meeting, and I just got beat up, right? First question is, Alex, how on earth did my policy go from a 12% cap rate to a 9% cap? And I didn't have a good answer, guys. I had to say, well, these things are subject to change, but never in my wildest dreams, guys, did I think that things would have changed so drastically in just 3 years, right? Dropping 3% in 3 years, that's nuts, right? So when I was here at F&G, I'm working on one of these contracts that was like 10 years old, still had a 12% cap on it, and I was blown away. I actually turned around and I purchased the F&G Gold product there, I think within 24 hours of doing that policy review. Right? So even the strong things for me, the strong cap rate, this strong performance history, right, where you see these products go up and down from new business to in-force, kind of simultaneously, that was all it took for a big product nerd like myself to go, oh my goodness, IULs, I've always loved them, but that was my biggest concern. I'm going to get one with F&G for myself, right? And what I love about F&G's products too is that not only do they have strong integrity when they're trying to help you grow your money, they actually have really strong integrity when you're trying to pull that money out. The variable loan rate, guys, on our products is capped at 5 or 5.5% depending on the product that you're looking at, right? Different for Freedom in comparison to Gold, right? I'll show you guys where you can get some of those brochures, translated materials here momentarily. I'm going to drop the information in the chat. But this variable loan rate is huge because variable loan rates, guys, most of the time go all the way up to change up to 8%. Sure, they'll be at like 4.5, 5 where F&G is today, but you'll see contractually they could change and go all the way up to 8. So knowing that your loan rate is capped at 5 or 5.5 is a huge, huge win. Company has all kinds of great indices here, guys, for you. I'll give you a high-level overview of them later on in our presentation, and I'll talk to you more about living benefits, life insurance you don't have to die to use. This is what got a lot of us on the crusade that we're on, and I'll give you guys my little story here near the end of everything. But the company's got all kinds of marketing resources, guys, so if you're out there, if you go to success.fglife.com, and I just put that into the chat here right now, you guys are going to be able to find a lot of these marketing materials. You're going to find the stuff in Spanish, Korean, Chinese, I believe. Don't quote me on that one. I don't know if we have anybody who could be using that too often right now. But please go online, download the different materials, ask if you need this sent out to you. You can go on your Sales Link portal and get them there too. The more the merrier for yourself. If you ever hit the quota, just reach out to myself, reach out to Jake. We'll get you what you need. A bunch of other stuff, co-branded resources, yada, yada. All right, so let's talk about the products here. F&G keeps it super, super simple, guys. You've got two IUL products. F&G is an IUL carrier. We are focused on middle market America. In the grand scheme of things, F&G's products are much more focused on helping our clients accumulate cash instead of paying for guarantees. But with that said, F&G still, like many carriers out there on their two IUL products, they have a death benefit focused IUL and they have a cash accumulation focused IUL. We're going to talk about the latter first, right? We're going to talk about the F&G Freedom product. This is that cash accumulation IUL policy for your clients out there. This product is ideal for clients who are simply wanting to accumulate as much cash as possible, right? As much cash as possible. So think of clients want a max fund, they want minimum face, right? Ideally, guys, issue ages 18 to 50 for this product who want to max fund their policy. This product has a little bit lower variable loan rate cap of 5%, right? A bunch of different indices. Of course, life insurance you don't have to die to use, but let's look at a little bit of the details, right? Issue ages 18 to 80. Minimum face depends on how old our clients are. Clients 45 years and younger have a minimum face of 150 grand. Clients 46 to 80, they can go down to 100,000. But remember, this product's sweet spot, guys, is issue ages 18 to 50, maybe 55 plus. Clients who want to max fund their life insurance policy. And what's really cool is not only does F&G have a 0.25% floor on their product regardless, in year 11 there's potential for a persistency bonus of an additional 0.25, right? Making that floor in year 11 moving forward potentially be up there at half a point, right? Not too bad, not too bad. And then we talked about the variable loan rate, chronic, critical, and terminal illnesses. I'll talk to you guys what those details look like here next. But to get money out of this product, guys, you usually take loans. You can take withdrawals, but let's just remember that there is a slight difference between those two words, right? A withdrawal, it's kind of like pulling money out of your bank account, if you will, right? Or really, let's just say it's like pulling money out of your stock account. You know, if I pull more out than I paid in, I have the potential for tax consequences. But we all know that the insurance companies love to help us work around Uncle Sam and the tax man, right? So you can take a loan from your life insurance policy, and if these loans and the policy's been set up properly, they're tax-free, right? Like how many of us know about Elon Musk purchasing Tesla, right? He didn't go out and liquidate assets to then buy Tesla. He took a loan against the assets he already had to then purchase Tesla. And in return, he didn't have to worry about all those taxes on a lot of that money, right? So when you're looking at these fixed loans, remember the fixed loans are the same for all of the products, right? Whether it's Freedom or whether it's Gold. The variable loan is going to be slightly different. So fixed loans available at any policy year as long as you have a positive cash surrender value. We're going to charge you 8% and we give you 6% back, right? That's a 2% net loan charge. But in year 11 moving forward, you have that opportunity for a 6% charge and a 6% credit. This is all still under the fixed loan category. So whenever you take a loan, if you choose a fixed loan, the interest rate will adjust automatically. You don't have to worry about telling us you want it to be preferred or non-preferred, right? But at the same time, what we see more often than not is a lot of clients love this variable loan. They love it because they can once again take it in any policy year as long as they have a positive cash surrender value. But this variable loan will charge you a maximum of 5 or 5.5%. However, the problem that you do have is that we don't know what that credit is back in the life insurance policy. It's not known. However, our credit is actually based on how the index offerings we've selected perform. So let's just say I have the Freedom product, my loan rate's at 5%, but my indice performed at 10 that year. I just made net positive 5% arbitrage on that loan money, right? But at the same time, if I got a goose egg of 0.25%, then I got charged 4.75% for the year. So worst case scenario, right? You know, not too bad. But a lot of folks love this variable loan. We've been seeing a lot of traction with it here as of late. So F&G Freedom, I've got some scenarios inside of here, guys. I'm not going to bore you with all of this. If you're max funding a life insurance policy, clients ages 18 to 50, please jump in here and start looking at the Freedom product. For everything else, you guys are going to want to start looking at the Gold, right? But before I get ahead of myself here, take a peek. F&G loves to tout their in-force cap rates here. S&P caps, guys, this is a huge, huge important portion of our business. Right, it's a great way to kind of tell financial strength of companies from one another is what their caps actually look like on their IUL products. So you can see here, sure, we've dropped 1.5% in the last 6 years, but the interest rate environment's been pretty wonky over the last 6 years, hasn't it? Right? So you've seen a little bit of a skid from all the carriers out there, but I'm sure things will pick up here in the near future. But guys, my personal favorite is the F&G Gold product. I own this one for myself, my daughter, my wife, right? My whole family has this product. I absolutely love it, okay? This product is meant for low-cost death benefit, living benefit sales. Honestly, guys, this is an ideal product for those clients who maybe they want to max fund 1 year, they can't do it the next. They need wiggle room, right? And I was telling you guys about F&G being a middle market America company. This product, in my opinion, is so perfect for middle market America because you guys, middle market America plans change, right? I do something here this month, maybe for the next 6 months, everything's good, but all of a sudden something funky pops up in my financial situation, right? Let's just say I got to help out, my mom with some stuff around her house. Things go sideways because, well, we are normal Americans, right? I love gold too, Lisa. But you guys looking at this product is excellent for those that need that flexibility because it's low cost. It still accumulates cash wonderfully, right? When you guys look at other more death benefit focused products that are out there, this product crushes it from a cash accumulation perspective. But you can't build a low cost product and not pay your agents, right? It's just kind of screwed up. So this product has what they call a 2-year rolling target. As long as the cumulative premium paid in the policy is equivalent to the target premium in a 2-year time span, you're going to have the opportunity to get paid full compensation for that policy. So you can't build a low-cost product, have the target premium or the commissionable premium higher than what the client even needs to pay for their policy to last a lifetime. That's not fair. So the company wanted to make sure that you have this 2-year rolling target on it, right? And once again, chronic, critical, terminal illness riders, life insurance you don't have to die to use. But guys, this product, issue ages 18 to 80. Wonderful, wonderful product, ages 0 to 70, guys. Very, very competitive. You'll notice that this product has a little bit lower of a floor barrier to entry, right? A $50,000 face instead of maybe 100 or 150,000. All kinds of different index offerings that we're going to talk about. Same persistency and downside protection that you had before. The only difference here, guys, is the variable loan rate contractual cap on this product is 5.5% instead of 5%, right? So slightly different. Now, we've already covered the loans here. Nothing really changes other than that variable loan that we were talking about, right? More gold illustrations, but here you go. Once again, guys, only a 1% difference instead of a 1.5% difference in 6 years on the S&P cap. Talk about strong, stable, and consistent. I mean, I absolutely love when I see that type of stuff, right? But let's talk a little bit about these index offerings, right? Because you guys are going to see all these indices are on our products. Just one product might have more indices than the other. Hint, hint, that's gold, okay? So gold is going to have 2 indices on it that the Freedom won't. That's going to be your BlackRock Market Advantage Index and your Morgan Stanley U.S. Equity Allocator Index. So BlackRock Market Advantage Index, guys, I want you to think massive, massive diversification from a product portfolio perspective, right? This index here specifically is a global index. It has emerging markets. It takes advantage of our European markets, right? It literally has every single market conglomerated inside of an index put together, and BlackRock is actively managing this index, buying and selling different options every single trading day, at least once per day, right, to make sure that we have consistent and steady growth. So this index is not extremely aggressive, guys. If memory serves me right, I want to say it is a 7.5% volatility target. Don't quote me on it. But not as aggressive as something like the Morgan Stanley U.S. Equity Allocator Index. That index, on the other hand, is relatively aggressive. It has a 12% volatility control target. Not only does it rebalance once a day, it rebalances every single trading hour. I was blown away when we were talking to the guys over at Morgan Stanley here when this index was released, I think 2 years ago now. I'm losing track of time. Oh my goodness. I guess having a baby will do that to you. But this is an excellent index here, guys, right? It takes advantage. I was asked, hey, Alex, what U.S. equities does it make up? Guys, I saw the list. It is literally every single one. 11,000 plus different U.S. equities that you can choose from on the open market today are all opportunities to be bought and sold. Yes, Savita, it rebalances automatically up to 7 to 8 times every trading day, right? Kind of wild. Now, Dow Jones real estate market, guys, 10% volatility control index, not as aggressive as Morgan Stanley, a little bit more aggressive than BlackRock. But you'll notice, guys, this index is based on the real estate market. When real estate's doing well, all of a sudden you're going to see this index crushing it. When real estate isn't doing so hot, obviously the Dow Jones Real Estate Index isn't going to do so well, right? So just keep that into account. Of course, we've got the fixed account at maybe a 4.5% interest rate, wherever it is, depending on the given year that you're at, right? But that's not why people buy IUL. They buy it for the other options that are out there, right? So the last 3 that I want to talk about, Barclays Trailblazer Index, right? Barclays, huge bank out of London, England, right? Been around for 300 plus years. Some wild stuff when you're looking at this index here, right? Barclays operates in over 40 countries. It has a high participation rate, no spread, no fee. But guys, with this, once again, it's a volatility control index, right? Barclays is having this trade at once each trading day. However, these volatility control indices, guys, these are algorithms. There are no people behind the scenes. You don't have to worry about the intern having a bad day, misunderstanding what his boss was saying with an options, right? Whether it's a put or a call, and all of a sudden he does the opposite and something tanks, right? There is an algorithm behind the scenes on all of these indices, these volatility control indices. The thing to remember about Barclays, guys, not a bad index, okay? I want to make that super, super clear. But this index was built in a low interest rate environment. That algorithm right now, we're not seeing the greatest performance out of it. So take a look. I don't know if we've got the historical performances inside of there here just yet. I'll find that for us by the end of this call. Guys, when this index, when it's in the right environment, it is absolutely crushing it. Absolutely crushing it. As of right now, environment hasn't been perfect for it, right? So it's not doing incredibly well, but still a valid option. The other side of this coin, guys, is the S&P 500. Everybody knows 500 largest companies listed on the U.S. Stock Exchange, yada, yada, yada. Been around since the 50s. Wonderful, wonderful indice. Our high cap rates really help this indice shine. And my personal favorite, guys, is the Gold Commodity Index. I don't know many carriers out there that have any indices that are based on precious metals. I got a 16% rate of return all year, every single month last year out of the Gold Commodity Index. I'm a happy camper, right? This indice is absolutely crushing it. If you guys want to know what I'm doing on my personal product, on the gold product, I use the Gold Commodity Index, S&P 500, and Morgan Stanley, right? Those are the three that I'm using. Right now, if I was on the Freedom product, I would be taking a peek at the Dow Jones Real Estate Index here and the S&P 500. Because me personally, guys, I'm a huge fan of diversification, right? Absolutely a huge fan of diversification. But F&G has all kinds of different riders you can add, whether it's chronic critical terminal that are on at no additional cost, up to table 4, right? Or maybe some of these term riders that you're looking at, right? I'm a huge fan of primary insured term rider, spousal term rider. My favorite is the child term rider, right? Guys, I'm always going to be honest with you. If you're selling the term rider simply for coverage, what I'd encourage you to do is grab a standalone term rider with another carrier, right? Just remember, this term rider is non-commissionable, right? But if you're trying to max fund a life insurance policy and use it for early cash liquidity, adding the term rider on is great. Just call into the sales desk to learn more, right? So huge fan of the term riders, adding them on. If the client wants everything in one place, excellent, offer it. But I do want you all to get paid, right? So remember that your term rider is non-commissionable, right? There we go. Yeah, 14.93 on the gold. That's incredible, guys. But my favorite out of all these term riders is this child term rider, guys. I always say this is like a one size fits all. I love the fact that I can pay like $10 a month for $25,000 in coverage. It covers not only Eleanor that I have today, but if I have any kids in the future, they're going to be covered on the policy up until they're 25, right? That's nuts, absolutely nuts. And I pay one price. So if you got 6 kids, you pay one price, they all have $25,000 in coverage, right? Not too bad. And then it'll fall off when they're 25. And remember, they got to be under the age of 18 when this is issued. So, a bunch of good stuff with all of that. But my favorite, guys, what brought me into the industry was living benefits here, guys. Chronic, critical, terminal illness riders. I remember when I started off in my practice company, I was an intern. I used to work with the guys over in the Edward Jones Financial Advisors, right? I worked with the brokers, right, that are out there that do everything on a spreadsheet. I work with the banks and the wirehouses. Talk about boring. Sorry if anybody's working inside of there. It just wasn't for me. And I started working with these folks that were independent, just like each and every one of you, had what I thought were acted like normal people, right? And they had access to products that had living benefits on it. And I was sitting there looking at these different products. I was like, I love IULs, but I'm like 20, 21 at the time. And I'm like, I don't know if does this make sense for me? I was like, what? I can't really use much of this while I'm living, this, that, and the other thing. And then I saw living benefits, right? And I was like, wait, that makes a ton of sense. Like, I would have a product with living benefits if I'm a young person, right? So I was like, let me get access to that. And then I'm looking at the price. I was like, guys, it's only like 2 to 7% more expensive for living benefits on your product instead of the ones that don't have it. Why on earth would anybody purchase a life insurance product without living benefits? They're built on at no additional charge to you, right? So I'm looking at all that stuff and I'm so confused, right? But remember, when everything came full circle to me, I actually started working on the desk. It was the first year that I worked there, and I'm sitting answering the 800 number, right, as fast as I can, constantly. And all of a sudden, right, I get a phone call from a buddy of mine named Chris, right? Chris calls me up. He says, hey, Alex, I've got to file a claim, right? Which I thought was a little bit odd. because not much I can do from a claims perspective, but hey, I'll do my best to help you out. I said, well, what's the policy number, Chris? Let me plug it in. I plug it into the system and I look it up and go, okay, what type of claim are we doing here? And so as Chris is starting to tell me, I'm looking at this thing. I go, wait, the name of the insured on this policy is the same one as my caller ID. I was like, that's not good, right? And I go, Chris, is this policy on you? He goes, yeah, it is. And I go, okay, Chris, what was it again? What type of claim are we filing? And Chris told me that he's filing a terminal illness claim, right? So, okay, Chris, I know you've done this before. We've done some claims in the past year together. Get me the information. Here's the documentation. Give me it back as soon as possible. He's like, perfect. I see the doc at noon. Right, goes to the doctor. Doctor fills out the paperwork for him. He sends it back in. Take it over to the underwriting team, claims team. I said, please get this reviewed for me ASAP. They do me a solid. Probably 2 days later, they come back. Underwriter's got an offer letter for me. He's like, hey, Alex, I got to send this out to the insured in the mail, right? That's just the legal compliance perspective of all of it. But I want to give you a copy. That way you could call this agent directly. Obviously, they were working with you on this claim. So I grab the letter, I take a look at it, and I give Chris a call. And I say, hey, Chris, I wanted to talk to you about this offer letter. You haven't gotten one here yet. It's coming in the mail. But I've just sent you one in an email. I wanted you to take a quick look at it, and let's walk through any questions that you might have. So as we're going through everything, I got to the point here before we started talking about it all, and I'm talking with Chris. I'm saying, Chris, why is it that you're filing a claim now? Right? Like, what makes you file it says that you're terminally ill, right? Why is it that you're filing a claim now instead of waiting until you've passed, right? You know that your family will get the whole death benefit then, right? Not this discounted amount. And he says to me, Alex, I really just have these 3 wishes. I'm doing my best. I want to fulfill. I want to kick off my bucket list, if you will. And he said, the first one is, at a minimum, with this money that I receive, I just want to have my family take a sabbatical. I want him to take a sabbatical. I don't want him to worry. He was diagnosed with 9 months to live. I don't want him to worry about the next 9 months. I just want him to be here with me, right? That's all that I really hope. But if I do get enough money, I got a few other wishes. One's a pipe dream, one I really want to fulfill. The pipe dream one that I think is a little bit far-fetched, he's talking, he says, I grew up in upstate New York going camping, and we would go to this campground, right? Now, I did tent camping, but across the lake, because it was a big lake, you'd see these cabins that you could also have, right? And he said, when I was a kid, I always told myself, I want to be the first one in my family to own a vacation home, right? And I want to have a vacation home up at this lake that I went to growing up as a kid. I loved it, right? But he says, my real goal, right, is, outside of the sabbatical, is my daughter. She's getting married in 14 months. And I'm diagnosed with 9 months to live, right? And so he said, I'd like to try to do something to speed up her wedding, right? So when I got to tell Chris out of that $1 million life insurance policy that he was going to receive $980,000 cash in hand, right? Talk about the most bittersweet conversation that you could have. The cool portion about all of this, guys, and the good side of the story is that Chris turned around. He paid for his family to have a sabbatical. He bought that lake home in upstate New York. And my favorite portion of this, especially now that I'm a father, is that he accelerated his daughter's wedding, got it planned in 4 months, closed on that lake home in upstate New York, and was able to have his daughter's wedding on the lake at that lake house. And most importantly, guys, he was able to walk his little girl down the aisle on her wedding day. Chris died about 4 months later after that. Chris was able to fulfill all of his final wishes because somebody like each and every single one of you on this call here today reached out to somebody who you knew didn't have a product like this one, right? Something that's so unique, something that's so important in our financial portfolio, and talked to him enough about it to the point where he turned around and said, yeah, I should have some sort of protection in place for me and my family. Heaven forbid, we never want our clients to ever have to actually use this stuff. But guys, the stories that you're going to have, all because you went out there and you put yourself on the line and you were willing to face and accept some sort of rejection, right? I mean, if you're talking about what we do, is it good for people? The answer to that question is absolutely yes, right? All of us should be fired up, should be able to go out there and know that what we're offering is unique, and we're offering something that most people do not have or have never even heard of, right? They've never even heard of it. Because this doesn't show up well on a spreadsheet for those big brokers. This doesn't work well in my banks and my wirehouses, right? Because it's not just, if you die, you get this, right? There's more of a story to it. And so that's where it takes each and every single one of you that can actually get a hold of people's ears to tell them this story. But you should just all go out there and have the utmost confidence that what you're doing, what you're offering is absolutely good for people and is absolutely a pillar inside of our financial portfolios. And it's just a shame that not enough people are talking about it. So to get these products right, a lot of you guys know we got to apply with our health, right? So we got to go through the underwriting process here. So heads up, F&G just increased their exam-free underwriting limits, right? We went and said, hey, not are we going to one time, two times, we're going to 5X this. We went from $1 million exam free all the way up to $5 million for ages 0 to 50. Ages 51 to 60 can go all the way up to $3 million. We're seeing 90% of our applicants are being approved at standard or better, right? You don't have to wait and see. You don't have to worry about paramedical exams, all that nonsense. And then what's crazy about this whole thing, guys, is before when I started, half of our policies were exam-free, getting approved in 5 days or less. Now we're seeing 50% of these policies are getting approved in 4 days or less. Yep, I know. I'm loving the exam-free limit. So go out there. You guys can go after those bigger cases. They're still exam-free, right? Our U.S. citizen limit increased from 300K to 500K exam-free for non-U.S. citizens, right? We still have instant approval, 0 to 60 up to $1 million. So a lot of good stuff when you're looking at all this. We're trying to make it fast, easy, simple, efficient for you guys when you're trying to get these products seen by our underwriting team, right? Getting them through the pipeline faster is always better, right? So remember that instant approval process when you guys are inside the e-application, ages 0 to 60, U.S. citizens, less than $1 million or less. You might see at the end of the day, hey, your client's been approved. They've been approved at XYZ risk class offering, right? Do you want to accept? Then you get to run off and you get to go tell the client, hey, you got approved, standard, preferred, whatever it might be, right? Instantaneously. We'll have the app ready. We'll have the application packet, the policy packet. Good golly, my brain's running at half speed. Policy packet for you here next week, right? So some fun stuff. So when you're going through that process, right, remember the application looks a little different than it did. First portion, your guys are signing all of the front half of the application, the data entry stuff. You do a signature process, right? Client complete signatures. You get to move to the part B, all the medical history. Please ask all those questions. You don't want a clean sheet and we find out there's something behind the scenes. It usually causes an APS trigger, right? Slows you down, right? And then at the end, if all goes right, you might get this instant approval message. So fun stuff with all of that. But here to close us out, guys, you guys have all kinds of resources and contact information. Here is that slide that I somehow doubled up on from earlier. Guys, feel free, give our underwriters a call. 800-445-6758, option 2, then 1. You can speak directly to an underwriter or risk assessment at fglife.com. They usually respond within 24 hours as long as it's not a weekend, right? Policyholder portal you guys have access to. Just type in F&G policyholder portal. We are the first one that pops up inside of Google Chrome. You have access to our sales link. You can use our eApp help page, right? So go in there, check out the eApp. There's videos for you to see if you haven't done an app yet, right? Of course, reach out to your uplines, their teams. You guys know exactly what to do. Uplines, if you have questions, reach out to us. That's what we're here for, right? A lot of good stuff with all of that. And with all that being said, guys, I simply want to say thank you, right? Thank you for your partnership. Thank you for your commitment to the company. You know, it has been absolutely incredible to see where you guys have came from, how well you've grown, where you're going next. You know, it's just impressive. It is not every day that we get to see an organization that is out there and executing, right? So with all that being said, guys, I'll give you one final story here of my times years ago when I was starting off in this industry. And honestly, just as a kid, my dad would always talk to me about, you know, these different stories that you have, right? And he always told me these I don't know, these funny stories, these odd stories, right? And so one of them that he would always tell me growing up is he would tell me about this king, right? And in his kingdom, the king was having some problems with some of the people that were reporting to him, if you will, right? I forget the words that my dad used to use, but the story goes that the king went out there and he found this massive boulder, right? And so he decides he's gonna, you know, put this boulder in the middle of the road and he's gonna just see how his subjects, how his subjects react. So first one comes along, you know, it's the knights, right? The knights come rolling through, they come rolling up to the castle and they're about to enter inside and they see this big giant boulder and they go, oh my gosh, what is our king doing? He hasn't had anybody come out here and move this boulder yet, right? And the king, he's hiding off to the side, he can hear all of it, right? And he's just, you know, the king's just shaking his head, oh my goodness. Next thing he knows, his merchants are coming into the kingdom for the day, right, to sell their goods. And so he's got one of these merchants that's coming in, all kinds of goods on their back. They get to this big boulder. They go, oh, what the heck? I gotta go around this thing, right? I've already traveled so far. Now I gotta, go around this big rock. What the heck? And then next thing he knows, he sees this serf come up, right? Serf's just one of these people that works the fields, right? And so, they're the peasants of society, if you will, right? And so, he sees the serf come up, and the serf looks at this boulder, and he goes, well, why is this boulder in the road? We should probably move it, right? So the serf pushes this boulder aside, all to find that underneath the big giant rock, the king had dug a hole and put a giant chest full of gold inside of there for the person that actually moved it. And so for years, my dad, he tells me this story, and and as I got older, I start to understand kind of the meaning is, guys, you're going to see that in life, right, in business and everything that we do, there's always going to be these obstacles. But skirting around the obstacle and taking the path of least resistance is not always the best path, the one that's going to lead you to that prosperous future that all of us are looking for. All of us have joined this business industry one way or another to make sure that we can provide for ourselves, our families, protect our communities with the important products that we offer, right? But the path of least resistance, right, does not always mean that it's going to be your most fruitful path, right? And the king, I remember in this story, my dad always telling me, he was just completely shocked that his subjects, people that he trusted so closely, the knights that were next to him, right by his side through thick and thin, right through battle and everything like that, weren't even going to move the rock out of the way. They thought somebody else was to do that. They were too good to go through this difficult portion. Even the merchants that sold food to all of the citizens of the entire kingdom, they didn't think that it was their job, their role, their responsibility to have those tough times. But for whatever reason, the folks that are at the bottom of the barrel, if you will, the ones that look at life and already have it rough, they have no problem going through and slumming it and going through the hard times, taking the road less traveled by doing the work to get there, moving that big rock out of the way. And what they found out is that those were the ones that received the biggest reward, right? So when we're looking at what we're doing, guys, and looking at our business, we all know that we're going to have these challenges in life, whether it's personal, whether it's our business, whether it's a combination of the two. But just remember that sometimes that path that changes, that path that all of a sudden now has some obstacles in front of it, that might not be the path of least resistance, but it more than likely is going to be the path that has the most fruit for your labor, right? So with that being said, I'm just going to pass this back to Lee. We can close it out. I know I've gone for 45 minutes. The people probably watching this recording are like, what the heck, Alex? Right, but we're going to do a lot more of this stuff here in the future, guys. We'll talk about products, we'll talk about process, we'll talk about a bunch of sales concepts that I have as time goes on. We're going to really create this library together with Universal Wealth and F&G to help everybody out. So with that being said, thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate everything you guys are doing. I'll stop sharing my screen. We'll pass this back to Lee. Thanks again.